Okay, in this we're going to cover dominant bass chords, and these are literally just in chromatic medians, and these are literally just chords, major chords with a flat 7. And then we're going to do a quick review of upper extensions with these chords, because I should have done that in the previous video, but it is what it is. And I'm going to go ahead and use this program's little chord spelling thing here. Sometimes it spells things really weird, especially when you do a lot of harmonic wandering or rearrange the voicings of something. But we're going to use C, okay, as our root, and we're going to the little screen here on the program. So a C with a flat 7 is a dominant chord. These are just called dominant chords because of the flat 7. So now let's go to the extensions. See, the 9 would be a third up, a flat 9 would be a minor third up, a sharp 9 would be actually an augmented third. So there's the 11th, another third up. You could have a sharp 11, but you can't really have a flat 11 with a dominant chord because it's just repeating the E of the chord. So now the 13, another third up from the 11. Okay, you notice you have every note of the scale, C major scale, and you could have a flat 13. We're not going to use chords like this. And you could have a sharp 11 and with a flat 13. We're not going to use chords like that, so we're going to use the most consonant ones. But you can find chords like that in like the Lydian flat 7 and stuff. Speaking of scales, what scales will fit a dominant chord? Well, Mixolydian will, and that's probably the most common. Phrygian dominant, okay. Mixolydian flat 2, Lydian flat 7. Okay, here's one the diminished scale. You could form dominant chords on the diminished scale, and I don't have a video on that, but I will point to the other ones I have videos on. But you can form chords with the diminished scale. In fact, the opening piece uses diminished scale that I did. So 11th chords. There's other ways to voices. You don't need the 3rd and the 5th. However, it's spelling it funky in the program, so and then it would be a switch to E 11th. You don't need the 3rd and the 5th, so these are just little things to point out. So let's do a chromatic median shift with dominant chord. Let's use a B11. We're going to voice it like this. Remember, you don't need the 3rd and the 5th. And then we're going to go to the D9, dominant 9th. Okay. Now the voicings don't have to be in specific order, so we did another B11 to a G dominant 9th. So let's make this musical. Very impressionistic sounding. G dominant 9th. And you could use like the Mixolydian scale over all 3 of the changes. So this is all we have. B11th without the thirds. D dominant 9th. B11th. D dominant 9th. And then from the B dominant 9th, we went to the G9, so dominant 9. So let's do another median shift. We'll just do an E7th to a C7th. Now these are very impressionistic kind of Debussy moves, and then maybe to an A flat after the C7th, A flat 7th. Just chromatic median shifts. So with these dominant bass chords. We'll use the common, stay on the common tone of E when we're on the when we're on the C dominant 7th. That's the 3rd of C, and then we'll do the same thing on A flat. Keep the C as the common tone as the lowest note, so it'd make it first inversion each time. So making it musical, we have just repeating it now in C to the A flat dominant 7th, holding the common tone as the lowest note, the bass note. Let's do the same exact chromatic mediant shift, but we'll go dominant 9ths. E dominant 9, C dominant 9, A flat dominant 9. So doing something similar as before. Because it's got that very impressionistic kind of sound still. So since I brought up the diminished scale, I don't have a video on this yet, but you can do something like this in E flat with the 7th in the bass, with a converted to a C dominant, put the 7th in the bass, convert that to an A dominant, put the 7th in the bass, go to a G flat dominant, put the 7th in the bass, go back to an E flat dominant. So the root movement is down in chromatic mediant thirds, but interestingly built off of the diminished scale. So here's what we're doing basically, and we'll make it musical in a second. And knowing your traditional functional harmony, you can resolve up a 4th, so to any chord, major or minor. So let's musical. So if you didn't know that was in a diminished scale, you could still see that it's 3rd related chromatic mediants. So dominant are flat 9s, dominant flat 9s. The chromatic mediants down a minor 3rd all share the same upper part, the same diminished chord, literally respelled. Just spelled into something different, same set of notes. So you go to G flat or F sharp, whatever you said, still the same as we started on C, and then to E flat, another minor 3rd down, still the same set of notes on the upper part for the flat 9. So you could use that to your advantage. So you could literally go from C, just holding that one kind of shape like that, C, dominant 9, flat 9, A dominant flat 9, G flat dominant flat 9, E flat dominant flat 9, and then you could resolve it up a 4th. And these dominant 9th chains tend to really want to resolve, so they're great for build-up sequences. So resolving, that's more of a traditional functional kind of ending and use. So let's do with the one with the 11th, with 2 11ths, but we're not going to voice it like this, because we're just going to use the voicing I showed you before, like this, and then the E 11th, dominant 11th, and then resolve it, just to have a way to the E 11th would go to an A. Okay, dominant E dominant would go to an A. That would be a very common resolution. So resolved. Okay, that's another idea. So basically C dominant 11th, E dominant 11th, A major. Yeah, sorry. The sequence is kind of like you're ending a piece. So let's do one more. Let's do something like, let's mix 2 things. Let's mix major 7ths now. So I got an A dominant 9th to a F major 7th, a D dominant 9th, chromatic mediant shift again, to a B flat sharp 11. back to an A. I'm not going to explain why that moves works because it's beyond the scope of this video, so but I'm going to do it like this. It's almost like a really nice ending. It becomes more tense for a second. Dominant ninth, F7th, major 7th, D dominant 9, B flat, sharp 11, major 7th, sharp 11, A. Now what I did though was I held that A over because it's common to all those chords. A dominant ninth, it's the third of F, and that's spelling it wrong, but F major 7th. It's the fifth of D dominant 9, and it's the 7th of B flat sharp 11, and it's spelling it funky there again, so back to A. Okay. So let me replay that up to speed. Okay, so that's all we're going to do on upper extensions with these major chords. We're going to move on to minor chords next, just plain minor chords and chromatic mediant shifts. I just wanted to cover all bases, you know, use upper extensions and whatnot in the videos and give you that options and ways to use them that you might not have known or thought about. So, okay, so let's move on to minor chords and chromatic mediants.